Welcome into Phoenix Breathwork, the podcast, Breathe to Rise. My name is Jessie and I'm your host. I'll be using this platform to share the power and magic of breathwork and to empower you to be able to transform your life as much as I have mine. I will share my experiences and will be inviting on some incredible guests to share their stories too. Look forward to guided breathwork practices and meditations to help you explore and build your own relationship with yourself and your breath. Get settled in and enjoy what's to come. Make sure to like, share and subscribe if you're enjoying the content, and I will ensure to keep creating more. I hope you are inspired in some way. Let's breathe to rise. Hello and welcome into the next episode of this podcast. I'm Jessie, your host, and I am so excited to be here with you today. It has been a hot minute since our last episode, hasn't it? So there has been a lot going on behind the scenes, and I wanted to take this opportunity just to give you a bit of an update about what's been going on. And people I've been speaking to have really been resonating with all of this, and so thought it would be really quite powerful to share it on here and to get your insights and your thoughts on the things that I've been navigating. And if there's anything that resonates with you, I would love to hear from you. And hopefully it'll help you in some way to share what my experience has been recently. So it is mid-April now. I can't believe we've already had a quarter of this year. It's flying by, isn't it? But what the last month or 6 weeks, in fact, has seen for me is a lot of change, starting with some minor surgery that I had to undertake. Now, if you've been following me and connected with me for a while, I've actually only shared a very little about this, but I have been managing endometriosis for a number of years. Now, the thing with endometriosis is that you don't get an official diagnosis. So, in order to get a proper diagnosis, they have to do laparoscopic surgery to go in and confirm what's going on. And this wasn't an option that was available to me. So I've been monitored by the specialists and having regular scans to see what's going on and different options to help manage the pain and discomfort every single month. And this first started about 10 years ago. In fact, more than 10 years ago. But I remember it was about 10 years ago when I was in Australia at the time. I think I was living in Australia. So it's probably longer than 10 years now. And I went to the doctor about this issue of really heavy and painful periods. And the doctor talked to me. I don't think there was any tests that were done or anything, but just from speaking with me, said that basically my body is getting ready to have a baby and I'm not. Okay. Anything else you want to add to that? And there wasn't anything. They just said, no, well, it's normal. You know, your body's preparing to have a baby each month and you're not having one. Oh, okay. And just sent me off out the door. And that was it. So I just thought, okay, so at this point, I think I'm about 30. And this is another reminder that I should be in a different place in my life than I am. So I just went off and carried on managing it and living with it. And it was only when I moved back to the UK that I decided to go back to the doctor and have this investigated further. And at this point, there were tests that were done, there were scans that were done. And at this point, ovarian cysts were developing, which is based from endometrial tissue that has been forming. And they were monitoring these, and the option that I was given at that time was to have the Mirena coil fitted. Now, at the time, I did not feel like this was the best option for me. I wasn't comfortable with a foreign body inside me, let alone a hormone releasing foreign body. So I opted out of that. And that was the only option that was available to me. So I've continued living with this. And it was only a few years later, post COVID, when the pain was so bad that it started to extend outside of my period. So it was a month after, not a month after, sorry, a week after, and I would still be having painful cramps. And these were debilitating cramps. Anyone that's close to me will know that I will lose a day, if not two, a month, where I physically cannot do anything. I am lying down with a hot water bottle, like on painkillers, just trying to breathe as the pain passes. And this had now started to extend outside of those 1 or 2 days and was again like cramping, a sharp shooting pain where I would be bent double, trying to just breathe through it. And I was like, okay, this is really not normal. So I did again go down the route of the doctor. And initially, when I called my GP, he said, right, okay, well, that's not much we can do about that. And I said, beg your pardon. And this is a phone consult. And the doctor actually said to me, it's a gentleman, he said that he would get one of his colleagues, a female doctor, to call me back because she may be better equipped to deal with my, you know, uh, symptom. And I couldn't, I had to take a minute to register that, first of all. Surely a GP, general practitioner, should be able to help me, but he was choosing to refer me to a female colleague because she may be better equipped to support me. Maybe because she's a woman? I was too, like, astounded with what he'd said to question that. But I went in, I was called back by the female doctor, and she called me in. She examined me and referred me. And it was through this referral process I was finally referred to gynecology at the hospital. And the consultant was investigated and said, yeah, it does appear to be endometriosis. These are your options. Um, and he said, let's monitor you for a bit and let's see how the scans come back and the cysts develop. And then from there, we will see what the best options were. And so this continued and it was being monitored. And then I was given a few options to consider. One, again, was the Mirena coil. A few options were ruled out for me because they weren't suitable for me personally. So that left me with the laparoscopic surgery to go in and have a look around and clear out any of the endometrial tissue they could find to hopefully resolve the issue. That was not their preferred option, because it was of a higher risk to do that for me at the time. So we were investigating other hormonal injections, and I believe there was one other option. So I was given a period of time to consider this until my next appointment. And bear in mind, the NHS, they're doing the best they can, but there were a few months in between all of these appointments. So a year has pretty much passed, and I've gone in, and um, the cysts that they are monitoring do seem to be changing in size, even if it's a small amount. Um, and it was one of the other doctors that was seeing me that suggested it's maybe now time we do the laparoscopy. So I was finally booked in for that, and then again, a 6-month wait. But the idea was they were going to go in to have a look at what's going on, remove the cysts that are sitting on my ovaries, and have a clear out of anything they can see that should not be in there. Um, and at the same time, do a dye test for my fallopian tubes, make sure there's no blockages there and everything is working well. So I get booked in for this surgery, and this is finally taking place last month. So it has been a couple of years since I've been monitored, and this has been in progress. So finally, the day of surgery, I've been preparing for this. And I don't know if any of you have been through the process of having to go under general anesthetic, but myself had to go through a whole process to prepare myself, my body, mentally, physically for this because it can be quite overwhelming, and in your body, it's a huge pressure on your body as well, which is, I guess, why they're so thorough with the whole process. Um, and I go in for the surgery, and as I'm coming around afterwards, the surgeon comes to see me and just says basically that the cyst they'd gone in for is actually twice the size they thought it was, and they didn't have full visibility of where it was sitting and what it was attached to. So they didn't want to touch it until they knew more. Oh, okay. So actually, I've just undergone surgery and it hasn't resolved what I was hoping it would. So, next steps is to have an MRI to then determine what is going on, to see full visibility of the cyst, where it's sitting, if it is attached to any internal organs like the bowel, etc. So they can then determine the best plan of action to go in and remove it. So it's another process. And I was trying to process all of this myself whilst coming around from general anaesthetic, being stitched up from where they had gone in to see what they could do. And at the same time, trying not to be deflated by it, knowing that it's not quite over yet, but grateful that there is still options and grateful that now they can give me an actual diagnosis of severe endometriosis because they realized the extent of what was going on. And for me, it gave me some comfort that this is the reason I'm having so much pain. And it's not just, that I'm not having a child. But anyway, we are now in the process of that. So the MRI was booked in a few weeks later, and I actually had that last week. Again, I don't know if anyone here listening has had an MRI, but I found it slightly terrifying. I was not prepared. They send you out some information to let you know what's going to be going on, and I had an idea of what it was and what would be going on, but actually going through it is something else. And I wasn't told until I got there that they would need to give me a contrast dye so they could see exactly what was going on inside, and also a muscle relaxant. And so they had to fit me with a cannula so they could give me these injections whilst I was going into the machine. So they tried at first on my right arm, couldn't find a vein. Then on my left arm, put the cannula in, couldn't do it properly, it wasn't working, had to take that out. And then tried the third time in my hand to fit the cannula. So already I'm feeling a little bit anxious about going in for this, a little bit overwhelmed about the information I've just been given, and I'm being poked and prodded. So the whole experience has already got me focusing on my breath more than ever. I was like, okay, you just need to get through this, Jess. It's going to be okay. Just get through this. It's going to be okay. And then I go in, they give me earplugs and headphones to wear, saying it's going to be really loud. So we're giving you these so the noise of the machine isn't too overwhelming. And they've given me the earplugs, put the headphones on me, and then they're talking to me. And I'm like, I can't hear a word you're saying. So I have to keep taking the headphones off and the earplugs out. And they're just explaining to me that they will be in the other room and talking to me through the intercom. So I lie down, put on the headphones and the earplugs, and in I go into the MRI machine. And I am very slightly claustrophobic. And thank goodness I was going in feet first, but I did have to go in up to my head. And it took every part of my training in breath work to keep me calm and still in this moment. When the machine came on, the noise was so overwhelming and so loud, even with the earplugs and headphones in, that it was making my body tense up. I carry a lot of my tension in my shoulders and my hips. I know this. I could feel my shoulders, my back, my neck, everything tensing up. I did my best to breathe, to focus, and to be still. I had to be still because they were doing a pelvic MRI. So I couldn't breathe too what's the word, rapidly or like too extensively, because that would, I guess, interrupt and disrupt the scan. So it wouldn't be clear. And I was like, I am not going through all of this to not have clear images at the end. So at the same time as practicing some breath work to help me stay calm, I had to be really mindful to breathe gently, which is what I was being told. And I'm like, I am breathing gently. Just hurry up. It's really not nice in here. And they stopped the machine, and then they started the machine, and then they moved me in a little bit, and then they pulled me out, and then they gave me an injection, and then they put me back in, and then told me just to breathe slowly, and then they took me out, and then they gave me another injection. And I was like, what's going to go on with this? And they said with the muscle relaxant as well, I might get blurry vision for 15 minutes. I was like, what? She goes, oh, yeah, and there's some side effects. You might get headache, you might get this, da 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 da. And I was like, huh, okay, great. So I guess I was trying to process all of this information whilst in this giant machine that's making this huge racket and making me feel slightly claustrophobic. And I was in there for half an hour. This went on for half an hour. And to help me get through this, one of the other things I was doing is just focusing on something that would keep me calm. And I actually went into a bit of a deep meditation to the point that when they were talking me through the intercom, they had to say it several times because A, I couldn't hear them through the headphones. And B, I was just so in my zone when I was in my meditation. And what was really interesting to me in this process is that when I was focusing on something to keep me calm and doing my meditations, the place I went to was the place I was happiest. And I found myself on the beaches of Brazil. So I'm assuming most of you know now that I lived in Brazil for almost a year. I was based in Rio and lived right by the beach in Ipanema. And it was my daily practice to go to the beach in the morning and swim. And I would spend a lot more time at the beach. And that time of my life was huge, huge transformation. I had my awakening in Brazil with breathwork and everything that happened after that. And that country, the life I was living, the people I was with, and my whole experience, realizing this time, this place was my happy place, made me smile and also gave a little bit of, I don't know, it's like an ache in my heart, like a yearning. It's like, why am I here in London inside this machine making these horrendous noises? I want to be on the beaches of Brazil. Um, and I'm not saying at all that I'm not grateful for this. Like the MRI is amazing. I am so grateful that we have this technology. It's able to help in the way it can. That is not at all what I'm saying. It's just for me, it was overwhelming at the time. And for me to focus on something that keeps me calm and happy, it was Brazil. It was the beach. It was the ocean. It was the sun on my skin. It was the salt water. And take me right back there now as well. It's beautiful, beautiful place. That is what got me through the MRI. That is what got me through that. When they finally said, "We're done," and they pulled me out, I felt a little bit spacey, I'm not gonna lie. And they said, "It's okay, you're okay to go." And I'm like, "Well, am I all right to drive? You just given me a muscle relaxant. You said I'd have blurry vision." She's like, "Yeah, if you're okay, just be careful." Okay, that's great. And they said, "Drink plenty of water over the next 24 to 48 hours to flush out the dye from your system. These are the side effects, blah, blah, blah." And I was like, "Yep, okay, okay, okay." Got my stuff, got changed, got out of there, um, and was actually wiped for the rest of the day. I got quite a severe headache in the afternoon. That is one of the side effects. I couldn't keep my eyes open mid-afternoon, and this is like maybe 4 hours after the MRI. And yeah, it took me about 24 hours to actually recover from the whole experience. So that was happening. And then 2 days later, we had to say goodbye to my uncle. Um, he passed away maybe a month before, just after my operation. It was only a week after my operation. Sadly, he passed away. And it was a surprise, even though someone's not that well and it could be coming close to their time. It still doesn't make it any easier to accept and acknowledge. And so navigating that whilst everything else was going on is where the real challenges can be sometimes, right? It's processing that grief, accepting that grief, acknowledging that grief, feeling that grief, being in that grief, and not having any judgment. I found myself at times thinking, oh, should I still be committing to this social event? Oh, should I still be showing up in this way? And in moments of joy, feeling guilt. Like, how can I be feeling happy when my uncle's just passed away and it's a huge thing for us? And, it's a close family member, a person of our family's not here anymore. And I've got an interesting relationship with death and grief, um, partly because of my own experience from a young age. I was 16 when my granddad passed away, and it was only a month later I had to say goodbye to my dad in the most tragic way. And since then, death has just been something that happens, and it's been something I've accepted. So to experience it at this stage of my life, when I have done a lot of work and a lot of healing and understand it in a different way, it's still interesting to observe the emotions, the process, the feelings. Just it's not straightforward, and grief never is. It's a really complex creature. So, with the case of my uncle, after he passed away, we had a gap of, gosh, it was about a month before we actually got to say goodbye to him and have his funeral. So, there was that period of time in between. It's almost like you're in limbo when you know this has happened, but you're not able to have the closure and say goodbye. And this was all playing in the background as I was undergoing this with my health, and it was 2 days after my MRI that we had the funeral and had our goodbyes and are still navigating the effect of that. So grief stays with you sometimes, and it's just how you are able to manage it and navigate it yourself. So for me personally, I have said my goodbyes, I've said my prayers, I've said my thanks. I have been talking about him to remember the fond things, digging up old photos and talking with others, sharing my experience and laughing as well as shedding those tears. And when it catches you unexpectedly, allowing it and welcoming it, because I had become a master of shutting those feelings down. Let's just hold that in. I'm not going to cry, especially in front of people. No one needs to know what I'm going through. It's none of their business. No one cares. All of the above. Um, I seem like a different person now. So I'm really welcoming it all. And the reason I'm sharing this is it's come up in a lot of conversations that I've been having with clients, with friends, just people around me, and sharing it has been helpful for them as well as me. And so that's why I wanted to talk about this more. My journey with endometriosis is something I am going to share a lot more of. There's a blog post coming out on my website. You're welcome to read and follow my journey on there because it's still very much a journey that I'm on. I've had the MRI, we're waiting for the results and the next steps. There will be more surgery. Um, and I'm working through the emotions of that as well because part of me has felt the relationship with my body has changed. And there's been guilt that I haven't been having children at my age or the age that the doctor told me my body was ready to. So there's been that I've been overcoming, as well as trusting in myself and speaking up, because so many people have shared with me that they've also had quite bad periods and still do, but they just live with it. They just accept it because people say, "Oh yeah, so do I. Oh yeah, so do I. That's normal. So I have that." And that has come from medical professionals as well as just their network. And it's not okay because when I went for this surgery, I'll say it again, the scan was twice the size they thought. Not the scan, sorry, the cyst was twice the size they thought when they went in. And from being suspected endometriosis, I've now been confirmed and diagnosed with severe endometriosis. So that's huge. If I hadn't kept pushing, if I hadn't kept going back, if I hadn't said, no, I want another checkup, no, I need something else, then goodness knows where I'd be at right now and where that would lead and the effects of that, you know, health, fertility, all of that. So this is just to say, you have every right to keep asking, listen to your body, trust yourself, get the tests, ask for help. It is important that you do. And I'm going to keep talking and sharing about my journey if it helps just one person to get a diagnosis as well and get that support, because you do not need to live in that pain every single month. It is not okay. Like, if I'm losing 2 days a month, how many is that a year out of my life where I just have to just surrender to pain? It doesn't have to be that way. So I'm sharing it because of that reason. And grief is something that affects all of us. All of us. Um, Sadly, the reality of life is that we will all lose people we love eventually at some point. But I don't think we can ever be prepared for it. We can expect it, we can know it's coming, but we can never really truly be prepared for it. So being able to share and talk about our own experiences may be helpful, maybe not, because the other thing is I find it's really individual to you. There are no rules when it comes to grief, I find. There are no rules in how you will express it, feel it, process it, heal from it, and accept it as part of life because it doesn't go away. It doesn't go away. You just learn how to live with it. And that's the big thing. And I will definitely be sharing more on this as well because it's not just an open and closed chapter. I talk about getting closure, saying goodbye, having the funeral. These are just steps of the grieving process, because there is a life adjustment that needs to be made. Because when we talk about grief in the sense of someone actually losing their life and not being a physical presence anymore, we have to adapt our life to that. There are changes that will be made. And so we have to honor that and the process and the grief and emotions that come with that. So I'm still very much in the middle of that as well. And I will share more, but I'm keen to hear your thoughts and experiences. So do share with me. Let me know if this is helpful. Let me know if you want to know more. The blog post will be up within a week of this, so you can head to my website to have a look at that, see if there's anything that you would like to share and comment on there. Anything that resonates, please let me know. I'd love to hear from you. I record these for you. It's great to connect with you in this way. And the grief piece, yeah, it's unfolding all the time. It's unfolding all the time. But my breath practice has beyond supported me with this. I have been able to access those emotions quicker and release them quicker, and that's allowed me to continue to live guilt free. Whereas, life doesn't stop when we experience a trauma or grief. Unfortunately, life does carry on, and it's up to us how we can navigate participating in it and continuing on. So it's an individual journey for all of us. But yeah, I won't repeat. I won't repeat. But my breathwork practice has supported me with that. And I'm talking about my conscious connected breathwork practice, as well as the breathing exercises I might do on the train or day to day or in bed. It's my conscious connected breathwork practice that has helped me and supported me in navigating this grief and also the surgery and also the MRI. All of it that helps me is the conscious connected breath. So if you're curious, come and take a look at some of my offerings. I have a workshop once a month, and there are plenty of ways for us to work together online, in person. And I also have a retreat coming up in August, which I'm so excited about. And I'll share a whole podcast on that at some point. But for now, thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for holding the space with me. And as always, I'm really, really keen to hear from you. So comment on the podcast, give me your feedback, drop me a message, get in touch, connect to me on socials. I'm on all of the platforms: Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, everywhere. Come and say hello, and I'll be sharing more soon. Sending you all my love. Take a moment for yourself, breathe deep, and thank you for being here. All my love. Thank you for listening today. If anything resonated, then let us know below. And if you've enjoyed what you've heard, then please remember to like, share, and subscribe so we can keep reaching more people to spread the endless benefits and transformations we can experience through breathwork. I'll see you in the next episode.